Hi, my name is Mary Bush, and today we're going to be talking about the best practices non-linguistic representation. The objective is used to enhance a student's ability to represent and elaborate on what he or she knows using images. Targeted audiences, including students with disabilities, would be students with a specific learning disability in reading, students with a specific learning disability in math, students with a specific learning disability in writing, students who struggle with connecting and comprehending the reading that is given to them, students with a traumatic brain injury, the visual learners, meaning learners who learn better while looking at something, body kinesthetic learners, which learners who do better while they're doing that activity, and students who do not do as well when the information is given to them orally. The necessary materials. With non-linguistic representation, there are a lot of different forms, so here's a general list of what you could do with the typical non-linguistic representations that are used in classes. So we have a symbol key, paper to write on, pencil to write with, crayons to usually draw and highlight, advanced organizers, photographs, and any other manipulatives that are usually used in classes. So the procedure. So step one would be to explain the lesson verbally to the student. So you wouldn't just fully go into detail with this step. You just kind of give the student a little snippet or look into what we're about to learn. Then step two, you would then choose the best form of non-linguistic representation for that specific lesson. So other lessons are going to need different ones, so you got to pick the specific one just for this lesson. Step three would be to again explain the lesson verbally to the student, but you would also add in the non-linguistic representation. So you would bring it up, pass one out to them, and work along with them using the non-linguistic representation. Step four would be to, if you use a certain non-linguistic representation, you could have your students finish it on their own by filling out the rest of the information. So you would kind of take a step back and let them finish out the work. So my first example of non-linguistic representation is an advanced organizer. This one is very commonly used, especially in reading and science. So what it is it gives you the broad topic. So it shows, like in this one, it has the main broad topic, and it's subbed into smaller points that also can connect. So when you think about something like the water cycle, you would probably, let's do the life cycle. So you probably have the general thing right here, life cycle, and then you would process it into each stage of it, even though they still continuously connect. So that would be advanced organizer. You would fill that out with them, and this would be a good one where if you did part of it with them, they could finish the steps later on by themselves. The second one I have is a diagram or a photograph. So with this one, you would bring it up so they could visually see, which would be good for visual learners, what they are learning. So with this one, I picked the photosynthesis. So you can see that we have the cloud, and it shows that it's raining. And then when the rain goes down into the soil, it gets absorbed by the roots, and with the light energy, it helps sugars become made. So with this one, it really tells us, you can verbally explain to the students what is happening within the photograph, but also giving them photograph, it helps them go step by step so they don't get lost in the steps at some point. The third one I found, which actually ended up being my favorite, was this plot glove. So what it has is a teacher, which I found this image on Google Images. It found a teacher who was breaking down a story with her students. So to help them out, she put this glove on, and the glove has all these symbols, which is a non-linguistic representation, on it. So when she's going through the story, she's pointing at which finger is getting held up. So we have on the we have on the thumb, it is the introduction, which is standing for the I, the arrow sign pointing up, which is the ascending action or, climbing action. And then we have the third finger, which is the climax, and it looks like we have like little mountaintops, meaning like we've made it to the top. And on the fourth finger, which I'm assuming is like the ring finger, is pointing down, so it's like descending action because we already hit the climax, we're going down, descending. And then on the pinky, we have a smiley face, meaning it has concluded. So this would be good for a kinesthetic representation because it is actually having the students like move their bodies and really use it to understand what is happening within the story. So any specially designed instruction, supplementary aids, and services that would be needed for students with disabilities. So a reading aid could be there to read or help the students read the materials. Extra time could be given to the students so that they think about their answers before they write them down, so they can really just think and pick which answer is the best. And then for students with orthopedic impairments who have trouble writing, a scribe could come in, fill out the worksheets, such as an advanced organizer, because that one usually takes a lot more writing down than the others do. So here are the references / additional sources that I found. One of them is Google Images, where I got all my examples from. And the other three are links to other organizations or websites, and they have a lot of help for like the teachers and the parents and how to really use non-linguistic representation, and then the basics that are used within a classroom. So here are my formative questions that are also on my handout. So the first one is, how could this type of instruction be useful for a student with a speech or language impairment? The second is, if a student has a hearing impairment, what would be the best form of non-linguistic representation that could be used for the student? And then the third, could non-linguistic representation be used for all types of lessons if needed? All right, thank you so much for watching, and all my questions will be on my handout.